When public schools were doing very well, people were pulling their children out of private schools. So private schools had low enrollment. And so in order to keep that balance, they started taking away resources such as art. They are hiring a lot of new teachers or teachers that are transferred from another discipline. So they're constantly in school to get AUs. AUs are accredited units or some type of academic units to help them increase their salary. So this takes away time that they may have for after school programs or clubs for students because they are constantly in school.
So you're saying they come in, they get a little bit of training and they walk out?
Yeah, but in this case, they get free master's degree in education, and they're required to only stay 2 years. Some may stay 2, some may stay 5. It depends on what the criteria is in their state for them to go to that state and be hired as a teacher.
So we pay in the city for their master's degree and they're out in 2?
Yes. Yep, they're out in 2. The residential teach program does the same. They hire professionals that may have a background in accounting, and then they give them a free master's in teaching, and then they ask them to go to a high school and teach accounting or teach something in business. And the concern is that just because you know a discipline don't mean you can teach it. There's a whole craft to managing children, to motivating them, not just being able to say, oh, I have an education degree and I know accounting, so now I'm going and I'm gonna teach accounting. It doesn't work that way. So we have a lot of problems with the perception of what teaching really is and what a teacher really does.
What, in your mind, should a teacher really be doing? I mean, how should a teacher be working in a city school system?
To me, teachers in schools should be empowering parents, empowering students, empowering the community. And together as a village, they make the neighborhood and they holistically mold the students with engaging activities. The average student, you model it first and you use the vocabulary while you're modeling. Then you have the student help you with the modeling. Then the student does it and you help them if they have any challenges or steps in which they may be confused what to do next or not so sure. Then they do it on their own. And you kind of briefly check on them, see what they're doing, give them a buddy, a peer partner to work with. And there are stages to this. They allow these stages to happen in pre-K and kindergarten, where they can spend a week or so on a skill. But then once you get to first, second, on up, then you only have 3 days. So they don't allow the nurturing and the mastery of a skill. They just expose them and give them a day of practice, and then you're supposed to give them a test on the 3rd, 4th day. And therefore, there's no deep connection. There's no deep understanding. And if you tell a parent too much information, the principal will be upset with you, or the district. They'll find a way to get rid of you. If you tell a parent that they can call a complaint line, and if they're not happy with that, what to do next.
They'll get rid of you?
Oh, they'll find a way, budget, because of budget.
Does that surplus or just literally fire you?
It could be surplus, transfer to make you uncomfortable, or they'll give you the students that, or more students that are more challenging. They'll do a lot of things to make it uncomfortable for you to teach there, to continue. A retaliation.
So there is retaliation from the
Oh, there's definitely. It's retaliation from the district on the principal, and the principal to the teacher. If the principals don't do what the CEO wants he or she to do, they get rid of them. And so you don't see too many principals at a school for too long, or a principal that's really deeply connected to the school. They're just there to do a job and they leave.
And what is the focus, you think, of the administration that conflicts with teaching? What is it that they focus on that you think people would push back, like teachers would push back against?
They're focusing on privatization and gentrification. That's what they're focusing on. So they're pushing that agenda here in the city. The same way they pushed it in DC, and now they're trying to do the same in Chicago.
So when you say privatization and gentrification, what do you mean specifically?
Specifically, charter schools is the first step. I don't see where there's any mandate that a charter school cannot go private at any time. I haven't seen any policies or procedures that hinders them, or it says if you are receiving public funding and you are considered a public school, you will remain a public school. They can receive the funding and next year say, well, I'll be private now. And you can send a child here with a voucher to be able to afford to come here, which is what Governor Hogan is pursuing as well.
So you say they really want to sort of, degrade the public part of it and promote the charter?
Definitely. That's the whole point. So that's why public schools have much more constraints and much more testing, and then underfunded, and they take away their extracurricular activities and resources, and they don't want any public school to be a school for the arts. You can say your school about science and do some science things, but not really be delved in science the way Poly High School, one of them, would be, because then that takes away from the edge that a charter school or a private school will have. So they purposely take out the arts, extracurricular activities, and things dealing with science. Yes.
What do you think is going to happen with this budget deficit? What are your concerns about, talking about cutting 1,000 people? I mean, it sounds to me like...
My concerns is the classes will be too large. So that's another concern. Charter schools can have small classes. They can have 15 or 20 ratios to one teacher, but a public school have to have 25 to 1 or more in order for them to have sufficient funding to support the teacher or the school. So that's another difference in which they treat public schools different from charter schools. So it's going to cause oversized classes. It's going to make people have fear. They always go after the highly qualified and the ones that makes the most money, high salaries. They try to push them out to keep the ones that they have from Teach for America and residential teach, the new teachers, because the contract says that the newest one in are the first one out. So what they try to do to work against that is to try to make the seasoned teachers and the staff members with the most salaries uncomfortable, to make them want to retire early. So they push early retirement, or they put them into positions or situations that they know will be uncomfortable for them.
Do you have, the teacher we spoke to, they didn't have water that was usable. Do you have usable water in your school?
They say it's been tested and is usable, but I haven't seen them tested, and I would like to see the results. I believe that we need to do our own testing. Our school is a renovated school, which was done by our old principal. But I'm not sure if the pipes from the old part of the school were replaced or just extensions added onto it. So I would have a question about the quality of the water.
So you don't drink it, I'm assuming?
I try my best not to. I try my best not to drink it.
When you say that there's students that have trouble, what do you think is the origin of their problems? Why do they have, trouble concentrating, some of the things that would be disruptive? What do you think prompts that?
Some of it is just lack of knowing how to avoid a conflict, lack of knowing how to redirect your anger management, having pride in being different. These are just core values, that the concentration is so much on reading and math and passing a test, that the core values to build character isn't there. So when I went to school, and even when I first started teaching, although you receive these things at home, they were reinforced in school. So we had notebook checks to help you with organization, how to color code things to help you with organization. The teacher would have a locker clean out at the end of a quarter or the semester. After the second quarter, they would have a desk clean out every 2 weeks. Clean out your desk, straighten up your desk. They had the reinforcements and section dividers in case yours were raggedy and your parent didn't buy you anymore. They didn't ask you, or your parent didn't buy you anymore. They just provided it. And so the homebrew teacher would have a day in which you cleaned your notebook out, you organized it, was everything color coded. They had notebook checks, book bag checks, locker checks, desk checks. All of these things were done by the teacher in the school.
And that doesn't happen anymore?
It rarely does these type of things happen the way that they should.
So it's more about testing?
Oh, it's definitely about
Why
testing.
do they want to test these kids so much, in your opinion?
I believe they test our students so much just to have a reason for why the public school is failing. When they're doing well, they may have it another year or two, or they say the test just wasn't challenging enough. They're not being challenged. So then they change the testing and make it 2 years ahead of where they need to be.
It sounds like they're setting them up to fail.
Definitely. They're definitely setting them up to fail.
What's at stake here, do you think? Why did you want to talk about this? What's at stake for the city and the children?
What's at stake here is the quality of public education and the abundance of it. They are constantly closing schools, saying it's low enrollment, but they are assisting in the low enrollment. And the governor will assist more by now trying to provide vouchers to students to attend these other schools that have low enrollment as well, but trying to hang on until the governor helps them. What's also a concern for me is the gentrification, the investment in schools, the investment in communities, so that it's easier for a company or for the bigger agenda to come in and take the whole neighborhood or that community and set up the school that they want to have there, and redline families and different people that they don't want to attend that school or to live in that community. So to me, it's a bigger agenda than just low enrollment, closing schools, hiring teachers that are not invested to stay in Baltimore City, changing how you manage behaviors, changing principals that are not invested and deeply connected to a school. So you make sure that there's detachment there, and then constantly having the new teachers on edge and the more experienced teachers on edge, and trying to form a bridge between the unity of the teachers, and then overworking the union as they trying to keep people with their jobs. Then you're testing all the time. So to me, these are just strategies put in place to undermine public education and to promote why the better option is a charter school and private schools. There's really no focus or large push to make sure that you have communities and teachers and students and parents have an input on the decision making of the school. They say they're doing it on paper, it'll look like they're doing it, but there's no real push. There's no empowerment of the community and the parents and the students to help make sound, effective, and efficient decisions that are long-term, they have long-term effects. So I would like to see the way the school operates on engaging issues needs to be reformed, or actually it needs to be implemented the way that it says it's supposed to work. And once things are implemented the way it was designed to work, you can get quality meals. You can implement having restorative skills instilled in students. you have a base to say, no, we're not doing all this testing. The test pretty much tests the same thing. Why we have to do 3 different tests to test reading comprehension or fluency or phonics? You don't need 3 different tests for that.
But he talked a lot about some of the violence that he saw in school and disrespect to teachers and how difficult it was to be able to get the students to receive the appropriate counseling and or punishment. That was very difficult. Have you seen any of these children who are at risk that are perhaps have that potential? And if you have, how has your school dealt with it?
Again, I have seen these behaviors, and a lot of it goes back to the relationship that you have with the student. A student knows if you just come in there for a paycheck and to expose them to something, but you're not really there to teach and to help them understand how this connects to the real world. Most schools at least have a counselor. I don't know if they have a psychiatrist, but the counselor can't handle 300 to 1,300 kids. So that's where the restorative skills and restorative practices come into play. And when it comes to strategies implemented to help redirect misbehavior, again, the teachers may have their, okay, we're going to have 10 minutes of free time. You can participate in that 10 minutes. I want you to explain to me how this happened, what happened, this and the third. They may say, we're going on a field trip, and because of your behavior, you can't go on a field trip. But explain to them why and what can we do to change it, to make sure it doesn't happen again. All of that happens. The teacher will do that. Once the teacher has done everything they could possibly do and referred it to administration, what is administration doing? And to me, that's where the breakdown come into play. Because you can't suspend a child if they cut class, or you can't necessarily hold the detention or hold them accountable. You can't hold them accountable if they're late. You can't hold them accountable if they curse you out. There's nothing that says you could suspend them for that. Okay, I understand that. So what's in place to teach them how to handle their anger? What's in place if they do it again, where they have to have a reflection or detention? What's in place for that from the administration? And there's nothing written, or if it is, it's not on the web page, or it's not given to the teacher. It's not there for you to say, well, after we did everything we were supposed to do, administration said they was going to do this, and this didn't occur. And to me, that's where the breakdown comes into play, because they don't want high suspensions, but then you don't have the restorative skills that you need to have to mold the child from the inside, not just all of the detentions and the reflections and taking away an incentive to handle how students behave or the things on the outside of the student. And to me, that's the one of the biggest breakdowns to conduct with students.
And I guess I would just have one final question. Of course, you know about Betsy DeVos being appointed to be Secretary of Education. There are a couple of GOP lawmakers who have already said they want to actually banish the department entirely. Does this give you any concern? Are you worried about your school? Are you worried about Baltimore schools when you hear this?
It does. It concerns me knowing if she knows the difference between a student who makes growth or a student who is proficient based upon the test that you say a student should be proficient on. A lot of private schools don't even take the tests that they want public schools to take. And if they did, they would fail tremendously. The average charter school is not doing well either when it comes to taking part in different testing. When it comes to special ed, I actually thought I heard one of our political officials say that special ed, they're gonna have a school for special ed children. That's discrimination. So you wanna have a separate school for students who have some type of disability, whether it's behavior or academic or social or emotional. You wanna have a separate school for them? I don't agree. So if you have this coming from the top official in your state, and you have this coming from the federal government, This is a big concern because you are promoting discrimination, whether it be by income or it be by what you perceive as cognitive ability. I don't think the education system should be dissolved because a lot of the IDEA things that are in place to help students that may have some challenges has really helped students. If you dissolve that, it's just left in limbo, trying to figure out how to implement it, how much of it you should implement, and then how to evaluate if it's working, if it's not working, trying to add to, take away. So there definitely should be someone overseeing the criteria of education. But it should be someone that understands why public education is important, not someone who believes you should pay for everything, or that the private business sector should be in charge of it all. Because that's when you get blackmail, lack of union, and lack of stability. And you just go along with what your boss wants you to do to keep your job.